Oh, this feels so short. This is not clickbait. I really am chopping off my hair, and I really do have multiple massive updates to share with you that will both impact my videos moving forward and also result in multiple subscribers winning real life makeovers with me to be featured on this channel. Not to mention changes to my Patreon, which will result in more opportunities for you to get live group calls with me, as well as with fellow like-minded community. And on top of all that, I'm doing a Q&A because are you really a YouTuber until you do a Q&A? And also, multitasking when I really need to focus on a task that I cannot afford to fuck up is definitely the move, right? So if you want to A, watch me impulsively destroy my hair, B, get the juicy deets on my personal life, or C, learn how to apply for a makeover with me designing your home in real life, keep watching. If you're new here, my name is Medora. I use they, them pronouns, and I usually make videos about home design for girls, gays, and theys. But today, we're celebrating the hard launch of my new and improved business model, which basically just meant that I spent weeks hyper-focusing on redesigning my entire website because I decided I hated everything about it, and also restructuring my general offer. Because who would have thought that offering 3 different tiers of overlapping sliding scale options isn't the most effective way to run a business? Lesson learned. So let's get into the first question, and then I will start chopping my hair off, which, side note, I've been putting this video in my calendar as a Q&A video, so while I have been considering cutting my hair for a while now, it hasn't fully set in yet. And my hair looks really good today, so we'll see how this goes. As a general housekeeping note, I did categorize these questions by different types of questions, so I don't have people's names attached to them because some people submitted multiple questions. But I will definitely answer all of the Patreon questions first, and then we'll kind of see how much we have time for. Because honestly, you guys sent in a lot of questions, and one of my biggest fears was that I was gonna get 2 questions and that people were just gonna ignore my post. So thank you for sending in questions. And the first question is, are my glasses prescription or are they just for fashion? And the answer is a little bit nuanced, a little bit in between, as with most things in life. They are blue light glasses, so they're not completely functionless, but they are not prescription. And I know there's a whole nuanced conversation to be had about accessibility and disability and all of that, but these are genuinely my blue light glasses that I wear to do work on my computer, and I work on my computer almost all day, every day. So there is a function to them. And then I do also, from a marketing perspective, it is helpful, especially within the context of YouTube, to have something on or near my face that is distinctive. So that is another reason. Again, I'm sure that's probably not the sexiest answer, but it's the answer I've gotten. And since these will just get in the way for the rest of the video, I will be putting them over here. After we get through the announcements, the category questions will be fun hypotheticals, design questions, dogs, business on YouTube, van life, relationship stuff, queer stuff, and then random. And then again, at the end, I'll tell you how to apply to win a makeover while I'm traveling around. Okay. First, since I'm trying to be better at celebrating myself and my accomplishments and my existence, I've got a bottle of what's basically just cheap champagne. And while I don't condone or want to normalize getting drunk in videos for the sake of content, I do think that a celebratory mimosa is appropriate in this context. There's been so much over the past 4 years that got me to this point, some of which I will touch on later. But long story short, I'm really proud of myself for all of the personal growth that's been going on behind the scenes and the ways that having a platform like this has really changed me as a person. And I'm kind of ridiculously excited for the future of this channel and this business. So cheers to me and to all of you, because I wouldn't be where I am now without all of the love and support, especially in the comment section. So at the risk of sounding incredibly cheesy, thank you for choosing to be here on this journey with me. I should probably wash off my hand. I'm gonna do all of my updates at the beginning here so I don't forget anything. So the biggest update that I've hinted at a bit recently is van life, which is both something that I've been wanting to do since before van life was even a thing on the internet. And also, this was my big dream for this channel. This isn't going to become a van life channel, don't worry, but I've always wanted to travel around doing makeovers for people who couldn't otherwise afford it or who just didn't have an inclusive, understanding designer in their area. So this is exactly what I'll be doing. And if you want to learn how to win a makeover with me, I'll explain everything about how to apply at the end of the video, and I'll include a little bit more information there too. In general, I'm going to be traveling around the western half of the US for the next handful of months. But if you don't live in one of the states I'm traveling to, or if the timing doesn't work out, or if you just want to have me tell you what to do with your home, that's where the business consulting side of this comes in. I've essentially scrapped everything that I had before. So if you looked at my website before, just ignore everything that I had on there. I completely scrapped everything and replaced it with a simple structure that is easy to understand and communicate. The structure of the consultation goes like this. Number 1, you will fill out a form with a ton of information about you and your home. Number 2, we have a video call probably shouldn't be holding a drink in my hands while I am talking with my hands. Number 2, we'll have a video call to talk through everything and make sure we're on the same page. And then 3, I'll send you a whole PDF guidebook outlining my suggestions for your home, including product links, a mood board with ideas specific to your home, a 3D mockup of my suggestions in your home, much like how I've done my virtual makeovers on this channel, a floor plan for furniture arrangement and spacing and all of that, and a custom color and material palette, as well as ideas for future-proofing your space and specific colors, shapes, textures, silhouettes, etc. to look for if you'll be thrifting any big pieces. There's more information over on my website, which is now just a simple landing page dedicated solely to this. So head over to medorakia.com if you want to learn more. And the big button at the bottom of the page will take you directly to the form you need to fill out. I think I've been pretty thorough with the website and the form, but if you've got any questions before committing to anything, you can always email me at medorakiadesign@gmail.com. And then if you're not interested in either of those options, but you want to support this channel or get access to live group calls starting within the month, head over to patreon.com/medorakia. I didn't do quite as much restructuring as I thought I might over on my Patreon, but the group calls are the new part. Plus the top 2 tiers will get credited as producer and executive producer at the end of videos. I've got 3 tiers over on Patreon starting at $5 a month, but if that's too much for your budget right now, I totally get that. And I do also have the YouTube membership thing where you click join down below, and that's only $2 a month. And I will also be posting the links for the group chats over there. Oh, and both YouTube members and patrons all get access to videos a day early. I don't think I've ever actually said that in a video, and I'm hoping to get it to a week early eventually, but for now it's just a day early. Okay, so for the haircut, I'm going for a bit of a 70s shag. I'll put some inspiration pictures on screen here. I haven't actually decided yet if I'm cutting my bangs or not, so we'll see. But I think I might, partially because most of my inspiration pictures have bangs, and partially because I'm trying to live up to what Alie Ward says at the end of her Ologies podcast episodes, where she says, cut your bangs, text your crush, etc.
So, I took your advice, very, very truthfully. We're all gonna die. Cut bangs, text your crush.
And I've already done the texting your crush bit, and that went incredibly well. So hopefully that luck hasn't run out yet. So other than, wanting to look vaguely like the inspiration pictures, my main goal for this haircut is to not end up in one of Brad Mondo's worst DIY haircut videos. So I wrote in my script that I'm actually going to follow his tutorials and that I've written everything down, but that didn't actually happen. Although I would like to think I've soaked up enough of his knowledge that I'll be fine. What could go wrong, right? I'm probably going to cut it yay shortish and do a bunch of layers so that it's kind of like a wolf cut or a butterfly cut or a shag cut or whatever words people are using these days. I have a comb somewhere in here and, oh, I need my hairbrush. Hairbrush required. But yeah, I do have a regular comb somewhere in this mess that's just off screen. And I have actual haircutting scissors. They are rather tiny, but they exist. So I deserve points for this, Brad. So let's see what happens. Okay, while I'm brushing my hair, I'm gonna get started on a few fun hypothetical questions. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? And then there's a second part, which is the same question, but limited to the United States. Anywhere in the world, this is kind of a non-answer, but anywhere that has dry summers that aren't absurdly hot, and then enough of a winter that it still feels like winter. I like the snow, I like the cold. I actually don't even mind it being ridiculously cold. I just don't like when there's ice everywhere, like there is in Minnesota, because it just refuses to melt. So again, that's kind of a non-answer, but I've definitely always wanted to travel to Ireland and Scotland and Italy and New Zealand and Germany and Switzerland and, a lot of places. And then limited to the United States, I would probably have to say the Pacific Northwest, although I have only been there for a grand total of 48 hours once, so I'm not exactly sure. That's also part of the reason for traveling, is to kind of figure out where exactly I want to settle down eventually. And thankfully, my girlfriend is kind of on the same page about that general region of the country. So there is definitely a chance that at some point in the future we will be moving out there, but that won't be for a while. And some of these questions are kind of lumped together. Someone also said, do you have a dream location you'd like to live or own a home? That's essentially the same thing. This one was fun. Someone said, what specific art prints would you select to send to your worst enemy? And I'll pop up some here. Anything that looks vaguely like this, early 2010s, millennial, boho, but not actually, just this style that became very popular on social media with a lot of white walls and arches and rattan and any sort of print that looks like it would fit into that kind of space, especially if it has an arch in it or a very like muted color palette, you know, anything that looks like it could be made by AI, basically that. And then this next one is, what is a piece of furniture or home decor have you envisioned shopping for but aren't able to find anywhere? For example, rare finds, extinct furniture designs, or something that doesn't exist yet. And I would have to do some more thinking about the rare finds or extinct furniture designs, but something that doesn't exist yet. This is a far off in the future video idea, but I think it'd be really fun if I could somehow design a chair that is perfect for everybody. Like super adjustable, super customizable. I don't think that that's actually possible based on what I know about like human bodies and accessibility and all of that. But I would like to try. And this is probably one of my video ideas for like, if I ever get, you know, 1 million subscribers and have a ton of funding that I can actually work with. Because right now I don't have that, but it's an idea. All right. And then getting onto the design questions while I wet my hair with the Naughty Dog spray bottle. What are your top 5 YouTube channels within the design/decor niche and why? The ones that I can think of off the top of my head are Paige Wassel, obviously, Noah Daniel. I'm going to say Lone Fox just because he was kind of definitely one of my big inspirations. Living with LK, I'm not keeping track of numbers. Arvin Alano. I know there's more. I'll list out any other ones that I can find over here. Okay, what is the worst/best advice you have come across on this platform regarding design/decor? Worst is probably just anything that's like super hyper specific and like very dependent on the individual, because there's so many things that so many people are saying where like, sure, that might make sense for a large part of your audience, but it really does not apply to everyone. And they like don't actually mention that, which again is kind of broad and kind of a non-answer, but like that's just how I answer questions. And then the best advice, probably just to like curate what you have. Like it's better to take things away at first than to start adding things, because usually for most people, we tend to have a problem with too much stuff or too many colors or too many different like shapes and silhouettes going on. So yeah, start by taking away a few things before adding anything in is my general best advice probably. Someone said, what's your take on fake objects, such as LED candles, faux plants, plastic marble, etc.? And obviously I love real materials, right? Authentic materials, but I do think there is a time and a place for fake materials, right? So like if you're in a dorm room and you cannot have real candles for fire safety reasons, sure, go ahead and get an LED candle. If you're like traveling all over the place all the time constantly and you're never home and you can't afford to like hire someone to come water your plants, I understand getting fake plants. Like stuff like that makes sense. I'm less interested in fake marble or fake wood grain because I feel like there are just different ways to get a better effect that would feel better. Like for fake marble, I'm thinking countertops. And I would so much rather just have like the cheap white laminate countertop from IKEA instead of marble, because at least that is more authentic to what it is. It's not trying to be anything. It's not trying to like say it's something it's not. It's just existing as the material that it is. And then fake wood, it really depends. I don't want to be touching like contact paper with wood design on it and realizing that it's not wood. But I really like this example that Lone Fox did with Benji Plant's kitchen, where they covered all of the cabinet doors in his kitchen with wood contact paper, and it actually looks really nice. And because you aren't going to be touching the contact paper very much, like you've got handles on there instead, he used real wood handles. Like in that kind of situation, I can see it working. So again, everything is very context dependent. There's no hard and fast lines. These conversations are always much more nuanced than we want them to be. Okay, hopefully my hair is wet enough. Someone said, this is hyper specific, but what would you recommend to make immature interests look curated, such as manga and anime figures, dinosaur collectibles, Lego sets, and that kind of stuff? So in general, with that kind of stuff, you really just need to like make it feel intentional. And that's going to, again, depend on your specific space and your specific wants and needs. Like if you want to keep things in a glass case or something, cool, go for it. But also, are you going to want to be accessing them frequently? These are the kind of questions you definitely want to consider. And then on top of that, just kind of try to curate your color palette, try to figure out a way of like displaying them that like makes them look built in or something like that. Any sort of like little shelves that blend in with the wall, especially if you do like a full wall of shelves to display these little things. Again, as long as they make it look intentional, maybe organize it by color, although I'd say probably don't do rainbow order just because it does look a little cheesy. It does look a little bit like childish. And if you're, trying to make the space look a little bit more adult, that's probably not the direction you want to go. But yeah, in general, just make it look intentional. Going back to other YouTubers, someone said, what sort of non-design content do you watch? And I've been getting a little better about not watching as much content recently, but I definitely watch a bunch of like off-grid van life kind of YouTube stuff, homesteading stuff, and obviously not in the like super right-wing doomsday preppery kind of vibe, but just normal amounts of like how to can and like how to prepare your family for weather emergencies and, general normal stuff that shouldn't be a political statement or anything like that. And then I also watch Say Yes to the Dress because I think someone somewhere asked about other autistic special interests. And one of those has always been weddings. Ever since I was 3 years old, there's just something about weddings that I love, and especially the pretty dresses. So yeah, something about Say Yes to the Dress. I know there's so much of a conversation to be had about why that show is problematic, but anything with pretty dresses, and I'm not even like super femme. I'm a little femme, but I'm not like super femme. So I don't even like know if I will wear a wedding dress if I ever get married. But maybe it's just because I'm like super gay and I love pretty girls. That might be it. Ooh, someone asked, what is the best way to encourage your partner to put their stamp on your home design, especially if they may feel a little bit out of their depth? And I think the biggest thing is, this is more of a relationship thing rather than a design thing, but in general, I would say don't force it, but just remind them that like this is their home as much as it is yours, and they should feel free to experiment and have fun, as much as your collective budget allows. As with most relationship stuff, I think it's just a matter of communicating and saying, hey, I would love for you to like be able to feel at home here, and I would love for you to feel comfortable to do what you want with your space. And also there's no pressure, and let's just like have conversations about things as things come up. And I don't know if there's much more you could do about that. I really don't think my hair is wet enough for this. So let's wet it down some more. See, I feel relatively confident cutting my own hair because I've been doing that for a decade, over a decade really, but I think more like 12 years. But I never wet my hair first, I only just straighten it, and so this is this is different, and I feel like it might hurt more than it helps, but we'll see. Someone asked, if you could give your style identity and design style a unique name, what would it be? And I didn't like come up with a cohesive name before this, but I do really like modern folk. And then I do also like a bit of a California casual vibe in there. And I do also like some like authentic farmhouse elements, not just modern farmhouse, because that's that's not it. But some authentic, like old school Americana. That's a lot of fun. And that feels like it fits in with the modern folk a little bit. And then I also really love simple tables in particular that are much more of like a brutalist vibe. So like some sort of weird combination of that. Okay, I feel like this combing isn't doing anything for my hair right now. So I just need to work on putting it up into a ponytail. I don't remember if we were supposed to cut our bangs first or after the main chop, but this is this is what we're doing. This is a lot of hair to try to get perfectly centered on the top of your head, especially while it's wet. Oh, that is not centered. Hold on. That looks pretty good. Yeah. Someone said, which trends do you hate the most? And honestly, I don't really pay attention to trends anymore. Like, obviously I'll see some eventually on Pinterest, and they definitely can be a fun way to like bring a new idea into your home. But I really just love focusing on what the actual problems are in my home and fixing those. And then also, what is the specific vibe that I want to bring into my home? And also focusing on that. Again, trends can be fun for like a DIY or something, but I'm really not giving them too much of my energy. Okay, let's do some thumbnail poses before I forget. Okay, one of those has to be good enough. And no, I'm not using my fabric shears for this. Someone says that they have the dreaded honey oak cabinets in their rental. Any tips for that? The counters are a green laminate. And honestly, yellow and green sounds like the start of a very cool color palette. Not cool as in color tone, but cool as in like neat. So I would say work with it, use what you have, and then just build off of that. Another person said, is it worth saving and buying an expensive shower fixture, about £1,000, that I know will be better quality than a cheaper, i.e. $300 one? They said, more specifically, my concern is that the cheaper chrome tarnishes easily and will always show water spots. This is a current source of contention between myself and my partner. So I'm less worried personally about the tarnishing and the water spots. I'm more interested in making sure that you don't buy something that's so cheap that it just rusts out immediately. So what I would say is more important than price is going with a reputable brand that like is very well known for making good quality stuff that will last a long time. That will always win the day over spending a ton of money just because you think that spending more money makes something inherently better, because that's not always the case. Because yeah, I'm definitely more concerned about a cheap faucet creating more problems in the future, specifically plumbing related problems inside of your wall, because that would not be good. So as long as you can find reviews from the 300-pound one saying that they've had this for a decade and it hasn't caused them any issues, you're probably fine. Again, just go with a reputable brand that like really knows what they're doing instead of like buying something off of Amazon where you've like never heard of this brand before. I should get another hairband so that I can hold all my hair together. I probably should have measured this before, but I don't remember exactly how much hair I'm trying to take off. I think it's about 10 to 12 inches-ish. So we'll see if that's enough. I really hope I don't have to do this ponytail completely over again, because that would not be fun. Okay, I put the ponytail here, and so that's a solid like 8 inches. That feels so short, but also that's like 2 full hands down from here, and that still feels kind of long. I'm gonna lower this a little bit. We can always redo this if we need to. We can't put the hair back on. Okay, the last question in the design section is from Stephanie, and I think it's probably the most important question. Stephanie says, when your algorithms start showing you all of the same stuff, trying to get you to buy the most corporatized version of whatever style you're into, where do you personally go to get fresh inspiration or a palette cleanser? And genuinely, I go outside. I get off the internet, I talk to people I love, I look at the trees and the birds and the clouds, and that is what inspires me. I try to be connected to community, I try to feed my body good food, I try to like get some movement in. Genuinely, that's enough inspiration for me to be able to like have a clear and sound mind about what I want in my living space. And speaking of palette cleansers, there are a few questions about the dogs. There's who gets the dog, what's the dog's name, and then can you introduce us to your dogs, please? So I will pop up some pictures over here. We've got Coda and we've got Minnie. And just as like a quick rundown to my current living situation before I move out of the van, I'm living with an ex and their new partner. And so me and this ex got Coda back in the middle of COVID, although my ex is definitely the one who wanted the dog more than me. Not that I don't love dogs, because I absolutely love dogs. I just don't want the constant like financial responsibility of a dog because I don't make a lot of money. So I knew that taking care of myself was more important than trying to feed another mouth. But he really wanted a dog, so Coda's gonna stay with him when I leave. With the caveat that in the event that Coda becomes so depressed that it's affecting their health, we might try to figure out a way to get Coda back with me, because I am definitely Coda's favorite right now. And so that is going to be very sad to leave them. And then Minnie is our little terror. She is so sweet when she's not like tearing the place apart. She's adorable. Andrew and Dan got Minnie together, and so that's fully their dog, like no questions. But if you love the presence of the dogs, don't despair, because when I move in with my girlfriend, she has a dog. So there will be a new dog on the scene. Her name is Zegan, and she is adorable, and she also loves me, especially when I'm eating food. So before we get into the business and YouTube section, let's cut my hair, I guess. This feels like a lot that I'm cutting off. Oh, I'm scared. Okay, maybe I move it down a little bit more. Is this all still relatively lined up? Yeah, good enough. Okay. Oh, okay, here goes nothing. I can barely see this, it's so short. How much? I mean, yeah, based on the math, this should work. Okay, I'm more nervous than I thought I was gonna be. Well, that's that. If I fucked it up, it's too late. I guess let's just... Oh, this feels so short. Okay, I mean, yeah, that's basically the length I was wanting. I really hope it doesn't become too much shorter when I style it. I don't know how I'm gonna style this yet, but already I like it better. I'm just worried that's a little too short. I might not even have to do bangs with how short this front section is. I feel like that's like already bangs. I mean, honestly, I think with just like scrunching it like this and letting it air dry, that might be good. Because my hair is secretly kind of curly. Like, I'll put a picture over here. Like, this is what my hair does when I do the curly method, or at least on a good day. So I'm trying to figure out if this is enough or if I need to still do some like actual bangs. Do I do bangs? I haven't had bangs since I was literally 4 years old and my mom cut them. So I've been cutting my hair for 12 years, but I've never done bangs. So this is the part that I'm not sure about. I should probably look up a tutorial before I actually cut anything. Okay, easiest way to cut curtain bangs by Brad Mondo. Brad, don't screw me over now.
Hi, beautiful. This is the easiest way to cut curtain bangs. First, make sure your hair is wet. Then section out these little triangle pieces in the front of your head. See that? It looks like a triangle. Boom. Easy as hell. If you want it really thick, do more. If you want it thinner, do less, you know? Now you're gonna take one of those sections at a time, pull to the opposite side of the head, and cut the hair parallel to the parting. All right? Then just make sure each side is even and they are the same length, and then blow dry, get it all in place, and then let's finish it off with some face framing layers. Damn, you're good at this. This looks great. And that's the look. Easy, easy, easy. You're welcome.
Okay, but those were like chin length, which is basically how long those are now. And I feel like I'm even more confused. I should probably section this better. I feel like it's not quite there. Okay, we have the tiniest, grossest comb that is one of my roommates. So let's hope that this works. I cannot see in the little viewfinder here, so I'm gonna move over to the mirror. I feel like this side is pretty good. That looks like a good part, right? I feel like this is not even at all. Hold on. Okay, I feel like this looks relatively even. I feel like it's good enough. Hopefully. I also feel like I haven't talked about why I'm cutting my hair. Not that anyone actually cares about that, but it's partially because I'm starting to get split ends and partially because I felt like my hair was too long and like too like heavy and bulky. And also like a little vanilla, like a little not quite queer enough, but also because some of the hair that was on my head, some of this hair was still on my head when I was with my abusive ex a little over a year ago. So I just wanted to get rid of everything associated with that time of my life and have a chance to like have a fresh start, move on, stuff like that. So that's that. Okay, let's watch what Brad Mondo did again. Okay, so we need more water and then we need to do 1/2 at a time. Okay, let's try a center part. Is that, you know what? Close enough. Okay, let's try to cut these bangs. Oh, I completely forgot about the Q&A that's happening. So let's try to answer a few more questions while I'm doing this, which is probably not a good idea, but too late now. For business and YouTube questions, what made you decide to start a YouTube channel? And someone also asks, do you or did you have a job outside of YouTube? And yes, absolutely. I am making a grand total of like $15 per video right now through YouTube AdSense. Maybe a little bit more now that my one recent actually realistic interior design inspiration did really well. But yeah, I am nowhere near making enough money to survive off of YouTube. The plan is that this consulting business will start to pay me for the last like 4 years of work that I've done on this YouTube channel. So yeah, no, that's the plan. I have a very part-time work from home kind of job that, you know, just barely covers all of my bills, but that's about it. So that is what I've been working with recently. Okay, I hope this is enough over directing because we're just gonna go for it. And let's see, where's my shortest piece? Okay, I'm like barely cutting anything off, but I'd rather start with that because what I've learned from watching Brad Mondo's videos is that people usually cut their bangs too short and then they can't go back. So we're gonna start with that. Someone said, I'm more than happy to see that your videos have finally started catching the attention of more people. So congratulations for your big success. Thank you. Yeah, one of my recent videos got 13,000 views. They said, how does it feel to finally achieve such a milestone? Were you frustrated before reaching this point? And if so, how are you coping with it? I was starting to get like a little frustrated this past month when all of my videos for like 5 weeks were right around the 1,000 mark. But like in the grand scheme of things, this is just how YouTube works. This is just how the algorithm works. And I'm aware of that. I've been studying YouTubers for at least a decade and like how to do YouTube and like different ways that you can do YouTube and common fears and frustrations that people have and stuff like that. So I'm aware that all of this is just part of the process. And I do actually have a video from about a year ago that has almost the same amount of views. It's just gotten those views much more slowly. And I might someday make a video about like how to start a YouTube channel, even though that is very much not my main focus here because it has genuinely changed my life, but not in a monetary way. Not yet anyways, because I went into this whole experience knowing that as long as it helped me grow some skills around video editing and marketing, and as long as it helped me become more confident in my voice, then like that's all that really matters. Obviously, I started this with the intent to start a business, but I also went into this knowing that like whatever happens, I'll figure it out. And I know that I have had a lot of privilege around that because my part-time job is only very part-time. And so while I don't have a lot of money, I definitely have a lot of time. So I have been able to put more time and energy into making these videos. But it was really once I started taking this seriously and actually treating it like a job that it started taking off. And I think ultimately what I'm trying to say is that there are going to be different stages of growth throughout your YouTube career. And the first stage is just about learning how to video edit and falling in love with the process and making sure that you are good with yourself and whatever you end up putting out. And then this next phase is like the growth phase where I'm like starting to build some momentum and stuff like that. And then the next phase will hopefully be the money phase because I could use that right about now. Okay, so getting back to the bangs. Again, hopefully this is over-directed enough. We'll see. I am like kind of point cutting a little bit, but only a little bit. This whole side's a little bit longer, so we need to cut that shorter. Someone said that I would love to hear about your experience with navigating jobs, relationships, special interests, etc. with autism and how that's impacted your identity. Generally speaking, one of the reasons I decided to start a YouTube channel is because I'm autistic and because I have trouble finding and keeping regular jobs. Not because I can't do the job, but because there aren't accommodations in place and because people are less likely to hire me because I'm autistic and also because I use they, them pronouns and because I don't want to work somewhere that isn't going to respect that. So honestly, this whole thing is just a big experiment trying to survive under capitalism. So yay, fun, cheery topics. Okay, we're cutting a little bit more off here. I'm so conflicted because I feel like I don't want my hair in my face quite that much. But I'm scared to cut it shorter. Okay, the last of the business and YouTube questions. Someone said, I'm interested in your interior design background. And for my interior design background, I don't think I've ever explicitly stated this on my channel, but I always call myself a home designer rather than an interior designer because I don't have all of the legal training and certifications to be considered an interior designer. I guess legally I would be considered an interior decorator, but I just hate that term so much. And I specifically like focusing on homes rather than businesses. Although don't get me wrong, it would be fun to design for a business at some point, but just as a fun side project, I really love thinking about the concept of home. But while I don't have any direct experience with interior design as a field specifically, I did go to school for art and design and I've been creative my entire life and I have quite literally always considered myself a designer. I've always been the kid who designed t-shirts for group activities. I've always been the person who designed websites for different things. I've done set design, I've done wedding floral arrangements, I've done basically anything and everything when it comes to design. And all of the basic things that you learn in an intro to design course can very easily be applied across disciplines. So everything about contrast and balance and harmony and all of that. Honestly, that's probably one of my best interior design tips is to learn about those kinds of design basics that you can apply to graphic design or interior design or floral design or whatever. So officially, legally not a designer, so I'm not gonna be working with contractors on massive renovations or anything, but I think I've made it pretty clear that I, at least to some extent, know what I'm doing when it comes to making a space look and feel good. So let's get this part a little bit more defined. Okay, we're trying this again. I went a little bit wider this time. Hopefully, I feel like that'll work well with the wolfy, shaggy style of haircut. Okay, van life. How do you reconcile that lifestyle with your passion for design and decor? And I think we've kind of touched on this already, but one of my biggest pet peeves with any sort of luxury service like this is that it's a luxury service. It's only for the rich. And I really want to help be able to bring at least a little bit of that to people who would not otherwise be able to afford it. And then Rika, I hope I'm saying your name right, over on Patreon asks, where do you plan on parking the van first? Do you want to go outside of the US with a van? And how does my girlfriend feel about it? / whose idea was it? So at first, I definitely plan on just staying in the city that I'm in so that I can have at least a little bit of a support system and also know where, the libraries are and where the Walmarts are and all of that. Because I already know that this is a lot of big life changes all at once. And because of the TISM, I sometimes don't deal with change very well. And so I want to minimize that as much as possible. Do I want to go outside the US with a van? With the van, probably not, unless it's Canada or something. Although I don't even have a passport yet, so would have to get that first. And we'll see how that goes, being trans and all that in the next few years. But yes, ideally I would love to travel outside the US if, travel isn't restricted for trans people. And then how does my partner feel about van life and whose idea was it? She's not going with me, for the record, for clarification. I'm doing this by myself. And as far as how she feels about it, she definitely feels like exploration and travel is very important and she doesn't want to get in the way of my growth. But she is definitely a little bit concerned about safety. And by a little bit, I mean more than a little bit. because the state of the world is a little bit concerning right now, especially in this country. But yeah, I've been wanting to do van life literally as long as I can remember. So this is just one of those things that like I need to do for me, regardless of what's going on with our relationship. And speaking of relationships, I've been doing real good at these segues. This was not planned. When and where did you meet your girlfriend? Spill the tea on your relationship status. Where did you meet your current partner? Stuff like that. So I should probably address this before it like becomes a whole thing. My girlfriend and I do have a bit of an age gap. I will pop up a cute picture of us here and then also a better picture of her here. And we did meet when I was in my early 20s, but there was nothing going on back then. And obviously I wouldn't, be putting this relationship out on the internet if I didn't feel completely safe and loved and trusted and respected and cared for and all of that. So just because there is a bit of an age gap, I don't want to hear all sorts of shit in the comments about like, oh, she's a predator, oh, you're being groomed or whatever, because that's, trust me, not the case. I was the one who reached out. I'm 30 years old. We reconnected like 6 or 7 months ago. Like, we're good. Is this giving? I can't tell yet. I feel like if I go too much shorter, it's gonna look bad. I don't know. I'm definitely sweating, so that's a thing. Honestly, I feel like it's kind of good that I had to film a YouTube video while I was doing this because I probably would have freaked out more if I wasn't. So there's definitely something in that Brad Mondo video about connecting it to these other layers down here, so I think I'll do some of that. Oh yeah, that's better. Is that it? That might be it. My hair's still a little bit wet. I don't know. We'll see. Let me try to put my hair up in a ponytail because I do a ponytail most of the time. Let's see how this looks. I feel like it's the right cut overall, so at least that's good. Maybe that's the move. That's kind of cute. I think I want these inside bits to be a little bit shorter or to be a little bit more like feathered out. I need to finish up these questions because I am running out of time. So Rika also asked, does she have a different design style? And is it hard to compromise when picking out things for the home? We definitely have complementary design styles. And so far it hasn't been hard, but we've also been long distance since January 1st when we initially reconnected. And this is really a topic for a different video because I do already have a video in the works about how to design your home with a partner or with a roommate or with a family or all of that. So that is coming. I just don't know when yet. So definitely be on the lookout for that because I don't think I can fully answer this question quite yet. I'm aware I'm getting sloppy with my sectioning and that's just how this is going to go. I feel like I just need to take these front sections and do a little bit more there. I feel like if nothing else, the general concept is there. So that's probably about as good as I'm going to get. I should probably stop before I fuck it up too much. And let's answer a few more of these questions, and then I will show you the final result. Okay, we're going to do a speed run of the queer section. So when did you realize you're non-binary and when did you come out? I realized and came out within the same year. I think it was my sophomore year of college. I did previously come out as another version of queer back in high school. And then as any, queer person knows, coming out is an ongoing process, both to yourself and to other people. So that's the very short story of that, because we are running out of time. How would you describe your gender in an abstract way with words that don't normally relate to gender? At different points in my life, I've described myself as a whiskey grandpa homebody, and now I think it's more like soft granola butch, although I guess butch kind of is definitely gendered, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't been in relationship with my gender as much as I would like to be, ideally. I guess probably the best way I can think of describing it is I like wearing long nails, which I'm not right now. These are my natural nails that I very desperately need to take the old polish off of. But I like wearing long nails because that very much gives me a sense of gender euphoria. But another thing that gives me gender euphoria is picking up my girlfriend and carrying her around. So I guess that's me in a nutshell. And then I think I'm going to leave the spirituality and religious question and then also the asexual question for a future Q&A because I, again, am running real low on time here to film this. So a couple last random questions. Where's my family from? Originally, my extended ancestor family is from Poland and Germany for the most part, with apparently a little bit of English and Swedish mixed in there, but I don't know that side of my family very well. The history I know more is the Polish side, who then moved to the Fargo, Warsaw, North Dakota area and farmed there, obviously displacing a bunch of indigenous people. So that's my family history in a nutshell. Although I originally grew up in Minnesota, and which is why I will be moving back there to be with my girlfriend and also to be with my family and my community and everything that I've already built there because I don't have much going on for me right here in Colorado. So Ooh, and then I think I'll leave the what radicalized you question for another Q&A too, although the short answer of that is just being poor for a really long time and knowing that there are so many people who have it so much worse off than me. Special interests, we've talked about a couple special interests already, so I'll leave more of that again for another Q&A. And then a very quick tattoo tour because multiple people asked about that. I do have, I think it was like my second video on this channel. It was a DIY tattoo rug. So I do have most of these tattoos showing probably more clearly than I can show here. But I've got this big fern, which is a reminder to remember the magic in everyday moments. I have this hand, which is not actually the thing from the Addams Family, as some random people have asked, but it is related to a spiritual experience for me. This is the cross of Joan of Arc because, again, as we've stated, if not in this video, at least in others, that I was raised Catholic, and so she was definitely like a big inspiration for me as like kind of a vaguely gender fluidy kind of person. This is a bee that landed in the palm of my hand once and just like strutted around and let me take pictures of it, and so I got one of those pictures as a tattoo. This was my very first tattoo, kind of hard to show here. But it means it is finished in Greek. Again, it's a spiritual thing for me. And even though it was originally associated with Christianity, I feel like the sentiment still stands. And then I do have one on my ankle that I don't think I'm quite flexible enough to show you right now, but there is a shot of it in that DIY rug video that I talked about. And that, again, is a very spiritual tattoo for me with multiple meanings that I'm not going to get into right now because I am sweating and I need to be done. Okay, so how to apply to win a makeover. Essentially just, there's a link below to a Google form that will hopefully have all of the information you could ever possibly need. If you need more information, definitely like comment below or email me, but hopefully everything is there. My ultimate dream someday is to be able to have sponsors cover the entire costs of makeovers for people, like giving you free furniture and everything. But for now, we'll be working with whatever budget you have to make your home work for you, even if that's literally just $5. Because I definitely think it's very important to show a wide range of what you can do on a given budget. Again, everything will be linked down below, both to apply to win a traveling makeover and to hire me to consult on designing your home and to get live access to community calls. So with that, let me dry and style my hair, or at least attempt to, because it might take a while to try to figure out how to style this. And I'll show you the final reveal in 3, 2, 1. And here is the final reveal. At the time of recording this voiceover, I haven't actually finished cutting and styling and filming all of this, so hopefully it turned out good. I tried to increase the angle on my bangs and then like thin them out a little bit, so I'm really hoping that helps and it isn't making it look more stupid. But regardless of how it looks, I already love that it's shorter just because it was already getting in the way living in a normal sized apartment, and that just would have been amplified tenfold living in a tiny van. And then a couple last quick things while you've got some more B-roll of my hair. I realized I completely forgot to show my latest tattoo when I was going through my tattoos. So this one is a branch with pine cones on it, and it's a reminder of my time living in intentional community. And then a few very last questions from Tanya, who is both a patron and also a client, and she sent these to me while I was in the middle of filming the rest of this video. So what does my dream home look like? I'll put some pictures up on screen. Very like simple mid-century cabin vibes up in the Pacific Northwest. Like that's dream home, but more specifically like half an hour outside of a relatively major city, like someplace that's big enough to have a Costco, but I want to feel like I'm in the middle of nowhere. Cities are just like not doing it for me right now. What is the most important element to bring into a space when decorating a white box? I would definitely say wood, like real wood, especially like a warm toned wood. That's my short answer for that. And then which design rules are you happy/thrilled to break? The one that's coming to my head right now is when you place a really cute tiny little piece of art on a big blank wall, and you can't just slap it in the middle. It has to like work with the composition and the architecture of the room. So you do have to be intentional about it, but it can really help highlight just how clean and spacious a room is. And then the unwritten rule that I absolutely hate is that your home has to be aesthetic. It has to be perfect. It has to be pretty. And that's not how homes work. If you enjoy the creative process of like bringing pretty things into your home and styling the space and all of that, that's great. And you probably do because this is a design channel, but it doesn't make you a better or worse person if you don't care about your home looking perfect. Like people are absolutely allowed to have just like normal ass homes, and I really feel like we should normalize that. That's probably not doing anything to get you to want to like spend money on a designer and work with me or any other designer. But that is how I feel about that. Also, I feel like I did a really bad job earlier when I was filming because I didn't really do much to talk about the launch of my business. The bulk of like what it actually practically looks like right now is my website and the room design consultations, but I actually made like a whole entire logo and everything, and I'm calling this Radical Roots Interiors. I did also make an Instagram for it, although I haven't posted anything over there yet. So if you have any interest in going and following me over there, that would be fantastic. I will link that below, and I promise I will post something soon. But mostly it'll probably just end up being like a digital business card where I can like post updates every once in a while. And with that, thank you for sticking around for this absurdly long video, and please do your best to breathe, drink water, stay safe, and if you made it to the very end here, let me know down in the comments what your most recent thrift find was. Partially because I'm nosy and partially because I want to see who the real ones are. Bye!